We, Serbs and Hungarians, can believe and be sure that the work and effort done in pastoral service is greater. Because there are people, Mr. Istvan Pastor was that man whose work and achievements transcend time, who connect, who shape history, and who link historical periods. He connected Serbs with Hungarians, united those from Vojvodina with their mother country. Not by force, he had strength, but not through loud politics, but he could speak loudly, rather through stubbornness and perseverance and courage and passion. That is a trait that we Hungarians, as well as you Serbs, know well. And indeed, this award speaks precisely about him. With Mr. President Aleksandar Vucic, I can accept this award today. For me, it is a great honor. As you heard, in 2010, in the year we met for the first time, an addition is needed here. At that time, we were both in the opposition. So, just for everyone to draw their own conclusions. Well, that's just what I, Zagradi, said, simply read, so you know. When historians write history one day, they can say that when we were in opposition, we still managed, during those opposition periods, to prepare the terrain and to develop relationships. We went to China, I went to Russia, and then I came here to the Serbs. And even then, I felt that was the future and that I must work on that. And there you go, here is what is now the result. So, when we found ourselves in that position in 2010, we couldn't have known that today we would stand here all together and celebrate and rejoice over a work, a deed, which is truly an example for all of Europe and the entire world. The significance of our cooperation, for example here in Subotica, is excellently and transparently displayed and serves as an example of how important it is for two peoples to be connected and how important it is for two of the oldest peoples in this region to unite. The people of this region, and generally the population of these two nations and all economic opportunities, are of crucial importance for the survival of the Balkans and stability in this region overall. Of course, with humility, I am saying that we all need to keep in mind the importance of our cooperation and our relationships. Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing changes in today's world that go beyond Serbian-Hungarian relationships. The old world in which we have lived until now is collapsing before our eyes. It is no longer just about China becoming stronger and Asian powers gaining strength, but it's just that these are changes visible to everyone, and there's no need for me to describe and explain them further. But besides the rise in the field of Asia, Europe is losing its influence. The Americans and Russians are negotiating about the future, while from Brussels they are waiting in the lobby and peeking through the keyhole at what those great powers over there are talking, while we, the gentlemen of Europe, are still forging war plans, even though we want to talk and negotiate peace, because the leadership in Brussels has fallen so much under its own war propaganda that it has already endangered the security of the entire continent. That is why alliances become more valuable, such as the alliances that connect Serbs and Hungarians. It is a great honor and privilege for me to be here with you today in the Subotica City Hall and to accept an award that is certainly one of the dearest to me which I received in my lifetime. I will not allow minority politics to be just a struggle for preferential votes. We must build bridges, solidarity, and trust. This is what my friend, Istvan Pastor, did. Serbians and Hungarians share a common saying, you reap what you sow. Today, together, we are all reaping the most beautiful fruits of labor. I am not going to call Viktor to add to his troubles. When we see that Ireland scores a goal in the last minute in Hungary, I get as upset as he does. And I am completely open when I tell you this. Look, I made you smile for the first time because you know that I told you the truth. You feel that I told you the truth. And I watched those players on the field who were devastated when they conceded a goal in the 96th minute. I felt as bad as if the Serbs had conceded a goal. And that shows what we have managed to change in the past 15 years. And we wouldn't have achieved that without the pastor's help. And we wouldn't have achieved that without the pastor's help. As for Viktor Orban, why am I proud to receive this award with him today? To speak of a great leader, whom the Hungarian people will remember. Elections are not the only thing that matters. What one leaves behind is important. Viktor Orban has raised Hungary's visibility in Europe and the world. In Hungary, it is the talk of the world, because only he is capable of solving certain problems for his country by directly speaking with President Trump. Viktor Orban is the one who managed to establish a friendship where others did not even try. First, I would like to ask the Serbian president what steps Serbia is preparing if the Pančevo refinery stops. How will it ensure security, and the question of how Hungary will assist Serbia in this challenging period and how they will help them ensure sufficient energy supply. There is an unofficial, but as we learn, OFAC or Treasury would have made, it is only partial, of course, a positive decision on granting the license. However, The decision from the State Department is awaited. There is still none. This puts us in an extremely difficult position for which we are prepared. We did not expect it. We expected and hoped for something else, but we are prepared, and citizens do not need to worry when it comes to anything related to electricity, anything related to heating in the cities, or anything related to supplying our pumps. The state is taking all measures, and one of those measures is precisely cooperation with our Hungarian friends, where we have allowed access. So, on Saturday or Sunday, we are exiting the so-called silent mode, or warm circulation. At that point, the refinery will likely need to be shut down, as we have not yet received a signal that we will obtain the license from the United States. If that happens, we will need, at best, to work continuously from the day of receiving the license, for 15 to 16 days, in order to resume the production of petroleum products, for the first diesel to come out of the refinery. But what can we do? We live off imports, mainly from Russia, both gas and oil. The Americans have imposed sanctions. I have two tasks, or rather, I have and will have. First, to arrange for Hungary to be exempt from sanctions, and second, I need to ensure there is oil, and not just paper and permits, in the next days. Tomorrow, I will be leading negotiations with that goal, and we will have oil, and we will have liberation from the sanctions, and that oil and gas will reach Mali. And if Mali has it, then you will have everything that we will share with you. In 2 words, in gratitude to Viktor, just to tell you that today is the 50th day since a liter of oil has passed through the Janaf oil pipeline. 50th day. No one in Serbia has felt any. I haven't seen any problem whatsoever. This action also speaks about the preparedness of the state, its seriousness, and responsibility. The construction of the oil pipeline. Some were saying that we didn't need it, and when we initiated this, I said it was of strategic importance, and it didn't take a year to prove that we were right. We want to accelerate the design and construction of the oil pipeline. Novi Sad-Algyo. So those 108 kilometers are on our side. I hope we will manage to do that through all the accelerated procedures, so that we can diversify oil sources in the future and rely on a very reliable friend and ally such as Hungary. We haven't had problems here when I would say we are in the functioning of Janaf, but the moment sanctions were imposed, the Croatians stopped all oil supplies and will presumably wait for all possible procedures to go through and for the Americans to approve the release of that oil. In any case, as for your first question, I believe in the good intentions of the Trump administration. I want to believe and hope that they will make a decision that aligns with what they have been saying, which is that they don't want Serbia to be so affected and wronged and whose interests are threatened, so I hope the decision will be positive. In any case, all that we could provide as guarantees, we have done, but for us to confiscate someone's property in a day, 2, 3, or less than 3 months, from that October 9th, we are not communists and we will not confiscate property. We are setting a reasonable deadline for the sale. As far as we are concerned, it is a Russian choice. It is a question for the Russians to decide to whom they want to sell. We have only said to whom it can't be sold, and MOL, Hungary, of course, Arab friends, and some others, are always welcome investors in our country. As for your second question, I think it was important. It seems to me that Elon Musk wanted to show how that the geopolitical conflict unfolds regardless of boundaries and how countries align based on interests, which is why you could find a large number of, I don't know, Ukrainian accounts in Britain, and we were able to see that the majority of accounts from our political opponents, unfortunately, come from Croatia and partly from other Western countries. There are almost none from Hungary. What a surprise. So I think it is clear to people in this regard where everything was brought in and imported from, and I am proud of the fact that the citizens of Serbia have recognized this and that we have managed to preserve our independence, sovereignty and independence regardless of the harsh blows we have faced and are still facing today. Thank you very much.